All right, we are going to get started. Jerry, this is something we do called The Last Word, and it's kind of a podcast using Zoom. Um, and what we do is we talk to thought leaders, and that is definitely you. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Anyone that knows Jerry knows that for decades he has helped us understand the news about what's going on in the industry through the great newsletter and through his many talks and discussions he's conducted at market. But before we start, Jerry actually has some news. So Jerry, you want to just tell us briefly about the release that went out the other day about your change in lifestyle and work style? I think everybody'd like to know about that.
Well, unlike Ray Allegrezza, I'm getting older. And as I approach 80, I've decided that I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm not going to be writing as much. I'm going to be still sitting around by the phone and talking on the phone all day because that's what I thoroughly enjoy. I If you could hear old friends like Ray and I talk on the phone, you'd think we were crazy. Uh, uh, we talk about cars and all kinds of things, and every once in a while about the furniture industry. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm working from my home. I've been working from my home for 5 years, but I'm going to continue to do that. But I'm writing a little bit differently and basically communicating more directly, doing things on the phone and doing calls like this. Now, uh, I'm going to start off today, if you don't mind. I know there are lots of questions, but I'm going to start off with sort of my theory, and you could laugh if you want to, but I believe we're in a most unusual period of time. I think everybody starts off by saying that, but uh, Trump is a person that no one uh, there's no middle ground on Donald Trump. And so we have a situation where a certain universe of people, when he says anything, automatically disagrees with it, automatically makes fun of it, and in some cases, they get hysterical. Uh, and then you've got another universe of people that applaud his efforts and believe, as he does, that we are a country that is in trouble, that people are taking advantage of us, and basically other people are spending our money, and that we need to correct this. And this needs to be corrected sooner rather than later. And I kind of think a little bit of everything there is true, but here's what I honestly believe is going on. I think President Trump is playing with the universe. He is playing and purposely making the Democrats and the people that don't like him, he's making them angry. He's making them mad. He's making them jump up and down and shaking a fist. And he takes great delight in it because he's distracting them while he can do what he wants to do. Secondly, I think he's lining up a number of assets and a number of things that he may be able to do that would, here's an interesting idea, reduce some debt, reduce some taxes, uh, help Social Security. Yay. Uh, these kind of things. And if this man can pull that off, it's going to be hard to criticize it. But that's a mighty big if. Um, then you look at this completely from the outside, and he's at this time playing hardball with China. And in another way, he's doing that with the two Chinese clones, Cambodia and Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other day on TV, uh, I can't even think of his name right now, but anyway, one of the more respected economists. Uh, there are two. Anyway, the one of the more respected economists said something a lot of us have believed for years, and he quoted that Vietnam, I believe the number was $160 billion, was selling to China was selling to Vietnam, and $180 billion went the other way. And between 40 and 60% of the number going from China to Vietnam, once it got in Vietnam, it was being relabeled and shipped out. Uh, that's a lot of billions if they're doing that. And of course, it keeps them from paying tariffs or the kind of tariffs that China would have to pay. And in China, they don't have our they don't have our consumer, and we don't have they don't have our consumer power, and they need that. They've got this production that's got to go somewhere, and if our consumer is taken away from them, they've got big problems. They've got big real estate problems. They've got big problems in terms of the population. But the, right now, the other part of this that is scary to think about is they are the number one, not by much, but they are basically buying our debt. And if we get them really riled and they decide not to buy our debt, we've got some major changes that happen to have will happen to will need to be done. So has he got a strategy for if China announces they're not going to buy any more of our debt, what are we going to do? Well, maybe he's got something already arranged. Uh, I mean, he hangs around with billionaires. Maybe he knows where some money is. But this whole idea, this confrontational nature here with people that can say no and can hurt you, it can't do anything but make us all nervous and uncomfortable and squeamish. And that's where we are. And
And we're weak
I,
out of market, right? I mean, we're weak out of market. Everybody I'm talking to says, how the hell do I prepare a price sheet? I mean, what would you say to the look, I love the big picture you set out, and I would like to think if Trump wins, we all win big, and if he doesn't, well, we'll have to deal with that at that point. But right now, Jer, what do you think the industry can do, or are there things the industry can do to mitigate the uncertainty of tariffs as everybody's heading into market? What kind of market do you think we're looking at?
I think it's a market where a number of our retailers are either not attending
Uh-huh.
or these retailers are sending a lesser crew than they normally would. They're sending probably more of the higher level decision makers and fewer of the people that staff and, you know, actually do the buying and the scheduling and all that stuff. I think it's going to be a market we'll all probably remember, only because we're going to see some really creative things begin. Like you will get certain manufacturers who have this level of control. They're going to be able to give you a pricing package, maybe not on unlimited quantities, but they're going to be able to give you a package, and that package will be what they try to get their best customers to take because they know they can fulfill it. Now, that's going to be a mix of product already in line. It's going to be a mix of product that's probably got a little bit of age on it. Our inventories, as you all know very well, our inventories haven't been in whack since 2021. And in
Right.
2021, they weren't where we would like them to have. I'm talking to retailers that their pricing right now, before all this started, wasn't consistent in terms of the markups, wasn't programmed. Most of our guys, and I'm telling the people that do this for a living, so I feel silly. Most of our retailers have automated long time ago, have got things on the computers, do things by email and other electronics. But the whole idea is that they have obligated themselves and are buying product for this weekend, then that weekend, and then uh, every weekend is got some sort of schedule. They do take off weekends, it's true, but most of the retailers I work with have a program, and they can tell you right now what kind of promotions they're running for Halloween. It's just they don't have it there. They need to get it out there in time to be able to schedule the promotions, in order to schedule the inventories, to get the port system and the rail system and everything else there, to avoid having any conflicts with anybody else in town and be able to take advantage of their exclusives. This is kind of their job today. They're doing all this ahead of time, which is their way of, one, serving the consumer, but two, offering professional services as efficiently as possible in order to be able to meet the needs of the pricing needs. So if the manufacturer, vendor, importer, whatever you want to call them, can't give you guarantees around most of that, then they need to give you some sort of what if type uh, situation. Uh, Last night I had a long talk with a gentleman that schedules uh, West Coast ports, and we talk about all kinds of things, but he's sitting there saying that the people he's working for don't know. They know what they've been told. They know what they think's going to happen. But he says they don't know. All they're doing is going to be able to give you a best guess. So a hell of a way to run a railroad. But I think I understand what he's trying to say. Um, he deals more directly with the shipping lines, and he's very uncomfortable. He thinks there are going to be some ships that just decide they're not going to go. They're going to hold up in their home ports or some port. They're not going to make the trip if they're not sure they're full, if they're not sure they're going to get paid. So how's that for confusion? Wouldn't it be nice if we could just decide, I'm not going to go because I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get things scheduled and be able to get people to pay me? Again, this is like we've had several times. This is a period where you need to be empathetic, not angry, and you need to say a lot of prayers. I think this is a test, but, and this is a big but, if President Trump has a program that actually can get rid of waste in our government, and that's going to take a year to 18 months at the very least. Okay. But if we can do that and we get enough savings from that and we get some of this tariff money, we may end up with a wealthier consumer. Now, flash back to 2020 when they first gave out that first round of incentive checks. What was it, $1,400 or $1,500 per person? So a
Mhm.
four-person household would get somewhere around $6,000. Do you remember what that did in terms of an explosion at retail? I was bumping around numbers yesterday on how the mattress industry did. That was the biggest year the mattress industry in the United States has ever had. And it was the biggest year the mattress industry's ever had by a lot, not just a little bit. And we hadn't gotten anywhere close to that level since. Our consumer proved to us at that time that there was a priority that home furnishings was in what they wanted when they could afford it. And I think that's been very, very obvious to us since then, is that the consumers, when they've got the money, they're going to buy furniture. They're going to buy mattresses. They're going to buy decorative accessories. I don't think they care a whole lot about where they come from. I don't think they care a whole lot about uh, some of the other more discretionary things, but they will buy because they want to entertain. And we're going to see this year a turnaround in the housing business. And it's already started. We had a decent, not great, but decent first quarter in terms of furnishings demand and the housing activity. It varies some by location, city to city, but I'm telling you, the housing business is turning around in 2025, and this is going to be the base of what will end up being probably a 12-year recovery in housing activity because we've underbuilt, and in some years, 2008, 9, 10, severely underbuilt relative to the need of our population, new people getting married, starting out, and all that stuff. And that's led to us having a shortage of babies. We haven't had the people getting married. The people are putting off having kids, the first kids. So our level of birth should be around 3.5 million a year, and we're running about 2.6. So that's going to come back. So these are the kind of things that just need some things to fall in place. And President Trump can speak in the most confusing ways possible. But when I listen to him and you look at his eyes, I swear the man's playing rope-a-dope with us. And you just need to look past and look into what could happen if this works out right. Now, if you want to just decide day one, Trump's not going to let this isn't going to work, Trump's going to get us in a ditch, then I'll have to say, is that possible? It sure is. But that's not the way I'm going to think about it until I see evidence of that happening. I'm going to hope that these things that he's working on are going to help us. And I know that's a silly thing. It's wishful thinking. But I think there's some things he's doing that are creative, that are novel. He's got liquidity in the marketplace in terms of the real estate we have in our assets. Our country is very rich in terms of its asset base, but we've borrowed a lot against it, but we haven't sold off the asset base. Anyway, lots of interesting little things like that. All right, Ray, I'll shut up.
No, that was good. I got a million questions. I'm sure the EC does too. Let me ask you, one of the things that Trump campaigned on and promised is let's bring domestic manufacturing back.
Yes,
Furniture
sir.
Today had something yesterday talking to Sean O'Connor at Universal about some North Carolina production. Joe Savovic, who's got the Soundcore furniture, is they're creating some production in the Triad area on a large scale with the EPA regulations, being so severe and the cost of some of this machinery to build large manufacturing plants. What do you see realistically as the footprint for growth in terms of the return of domestic furniture manufacturing on a larger scale? Are we whistling in the dark, or do you think it could happen, and what would it take?
Ray, I think we are going to see some production return here, uh, but you need to define what it is.
Mhm.
If someone is out there and they want to build a new metal factory that can do plating and can create the metal and all, uh, I don't think that's going to happen. And if your heart's set on doing it in California, I think you really have a massive challenge.
Yeah.
The rules and the laws and all are just against you. You can't do it. I had a friend call me several years ago uh, who lived in a neighboring state. And he ran a family company that all of you'd recognize the name. They weren't a big company, but they made a beautiful product. It was the kind of product that everybody would love to get as a wedding present. And they they've been in business for 100 years and so forth. He called me. He says, Jerry, I just want to call and say goodbye. We've known each other a long time. And he says, so we're putting out the announcement in the next week that we're going to be shutting the factory down in 3 months. And I feel bad. Uh, but he says, we make money. Our break even is right at $3.5 million. And we have got the emission standards that won't allow us to produce over 3 million. And I can produce enough to make money, but they'll arrest me and put me in jail. Or I can just shut it, run at the lower level and lose so much money that my family will just lose all its core investment. He says, I don't have a choice. And that's what's happened in so many cases. Uh, you the it isn't that the companies haven't been investing in technology. They have been, but the laws that relate to the environmental situation change. We worked on a situation where a company uh, in 1986. I'm pretty sure that was the year. In 1986, one company bought another company, big company, and they got a decision from the environmental people about what they could do with some underground tanks. And the decision was made in 1986 that they could, uh, the tanks could be removed, or the tanks could be filled with no leaks with some sort of neutral liquid or gel or something. Now, in 1994, the company got notice that the regulations had changed and the tanks could no longer stay there. They had to be removed. And if they didn't remove those tanks, they'd be subject to penalties and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the president of the company called me up. He said, Jerry, what are we supposed to do? I said, I don't have any idea. I mean, these people are crazy. You know, we spend our money where we're told to spend our money, and then they change the rule on us. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. Sometimes it's a big rule, sometimes it's a small rule, but they change these damn things. And that piece of equipment that you just bought that was environmentally okay and had the different regulations and it wasn't too loud and it didn't throw off sparks and it didn't have things that would make people sick, you know, that piece of equipment may no longer be allowed. It'll be allowed uh, in uh, Cambodia. It'll be allowed somewhere else, but you can't do that in uh, in the United States anymore. So, this is the stuff that I don't think the average American looks at. If they think about furniture and they think about emissions, it's almost all a problem in metal furniture. It's a lesser problem with wood furniture, and it's not much of a problem in most upholstery. Upholstery has got some other issues, but the environmental standard is generally not a problem there. Um, so can we bring upholstery back? Yeah, we're bringing upholstery back. We're already seeing it. And you've been seeing some sort of odd headlines of a Canadian company opening up a factory in the U.S. and a Mexican company is buying and getting ready to uh, open up a facility in Texas. We're seeing a lot of that. People are hedging their bets. They'd rather have the facility here in the U.S. than wish they had. And so there's that kind of investing where they can do it.
Well,
But
let me follow up and ask you and your company have led the way on doing a lot of the deals and the mergers and acquisitions. You know, if people are stretched and um, they're not sure what's going to happen, do you think that we're going to see more people throwing in the towel, and is that going to create more of an opportunity for outside investors or domestic investors with deep pockets? Do you think we're going to see a lot more movement in terms of mergers and acquisitions over the next 12 months as a result of where we are?
Ray, I'm much more concerned about that at retail.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a lot of our leading organizations that have got senior citizens running them, and the senior citizen doesn't want to run them, but they haven't been blessed with children or grandchildren who can come in and take over and enthusiastically run the company. Uh, Among the manufacturing base, you've got companies that have brought in professional management, companies that have looked at their options early, planned what they wanted to make, and looked at what kind of product they could make. We work with them on a regular basis, and we sit down and we try to help them think through what they're going to face over the next 8 to 10 years, and invest accordingly. At retail, it's a lot harder to do because so many of the businesses are smaller and they're also very, very regional.
Right.
I mean, this has been a heartbreaking period for me and for most of the people on this call because, golly, I'd worked with the Badcocks for 50 years. Uh, Wogey Jr. and I used to have dinner at market every market, usually in the Bassett space when it was over on 85. And damn it, that company deserved better than what happened to it. And I'm not at all happy with what happened to it.
Yeah.
But again, you look at these other situations. If if you have planned, if it's your money, you're going to make it work if you can. If it all of a sudden is some outside guy and it's not his money, and let me just point out one thing I don't think folks focus on enough. The private equity guys are not evil. They're not out to screw anybody. The private equity guys raise money to invest. And if they raise that money and they don't have any investments, they don't get paid. So they have to take that money and do transactions. Now, if they do the transaction, if they go out and find a company to acquire and they buy it, they get checks written to them. And a lot of times they not only get check in terms of your direct compensation, they also get a piece of the pie. Now,
Right.
if that deal doesn't work, do they lose money? Damn right. But not as much as the guys who put the money up in the first place. This whole situation doesn't put the incentives where the incentives need to be. Couple of just observations.
All right.
We're not a management rich industry. We're an industry that most outsiders consider to be rural, bumpkins, uneducated. That's not true at all, but that's what they think. And I look at our industry right now at what's going to happen, the technologies that are about to come in. We're about to see a whole new round of exciting developments in outdoor furniture. And one of the things that's exciting is some of the new outdoor furniture, we're going to be plugging it in. And it's going to have heat, it's going to have motion, it's going to have a lot of things with it.
Mhm.
The mattress industry, there's several things being developed there that are very, very exciting. And there's a whole new array of furniture that is going to be made so that it can be assembled, unassembled, reassembled. We're going to have products that are going to be sold to people when they buy their first residence, first home, that can be upgraded and changed as they move forward. Uh, it's really exciting. It involves bedroom beds, it involves sectionals, and it's just very exciting when you see what happens. That if you obligate yourself to this sectional and you decide that 8 years from now or 6 years from now you move into another house and has a different color scheme, you're not going to have to go out and buy new upholstery, new sofas. You can very simply recover all the upholstery yourself at home, or the store will come do it for you.
Mhm.
Uh, it's stuff that can be done at very reasonable prices.
Well, we're on the cusp of some good things. Let me ask you this, since I'm a member still, unless Steve fired me. I'm a member in good standing of the International Home Furnishings Representatives Association. So with that in mind, what advice or what is your outlook for the independent rep during this period of uncertainty and transition?
Okay. Number one, this is the biggest one for me. Don't be stupid. Uh,
I know you're talking to me on that one, so I'm listening. Go ahead.
if if you work for a company that's public, look at all the financials, buy a share or two, get the financials, look at them when they come out, make sure your company has the staying power and is making the right decisions going forward. Uh, a lot of people who knew that their company was in financial pickle didn't pay attention and didn't do. They look back and say, damn, I wished I'd listened to what my heart was telling me and not just believe these guys who were trying to hold on to their jobs.
Mhm.
It just, if the numbers are there, believe them and pay attention to them. Go to the annual meeting. It shows you're a team player. Do these things and watch for it. There are a lot of companies now that are owned by private equity groups. Get in front of the private equity group, get their mailings, listen to them talk about what direction they're going in, uh, look at their cash flow and what assets they're going to have to invest. Um, we're going to see where more of our vendors, I use the word vendor because it's easier than saying domestic manufacturers and importers. Uh, the your vendors, there was a time when our nation was suspicious of imports. I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think that most Americans care where the product was built, if it's made out of quality materials, if it's made uh, structurally okay. And what is considered structurally okay today is not the same as what constructurally, uh, uh, from a construction point of view, was acceptable in the 70s and early 80s. Uh, in some cases, in some cases, the wood side of it has changed a whole lot, and that is true. In some cases, the metal side has changed. The biggest changes in the last 5 years have been in the outdoor furniture business, which has exploded on the scene. And the numbers that the outdoor business has shown, I think, have surprised everyone. Uh, the numbers in motion, around 1988, we had the introduction of power recliners, and they were like a 4 year flash, and then they disappeared. And what happened was that we weren't engineered for them yet. We didn't have all the gizmos and electronics to make it work. Well, then around 2000, 99, 2000, they reappeared. But these were completely different machines, and they've put a lot of money in a lot of people's pockets because these are better, more exciting, and have a lot more features. And you hadn't seen anything yet to what you're going to be able to get there. So, I keep talking about the new stuff because that's where I get excited.
Sure.
Um, but you, as a rep, has to look at your family, look at your business, make sure that the portfolio of companies that you have is doable, makes sense, and then look at your customer base and if you're dealing with someone that, if you're a customer base, if no one's opened a store in the last 5 years, that would bother me. And I would, talk to the store owner or whoever you're dealing with there and just say, you know, eh, a lot's going on here, and your market here is changing. And then you look at the internet, and I know the internet is the sort of the ghost that haunts us all. Um, what you don't recognize, and I wished I'd done a better job of keeping up with the details. We've lost more internet furniture retailers and mattress retailers than you would possibly think. And they they look at our business and think it's so simple, but you look at the way they run their business, you look at the logistics of how they do the business, and if you look at Wayfair, and I know those guys, they're smart guys, but they have to be able at some point in time to make money and have a positive cash flow. And so you begin to look at that. There's a lot of speculation on Wayfair on whether they're going to make it or not. But
Right.
hell, it's always been that way. There's nothing new.
Exactly. All right, listen, we are just about out of time. I want to thank you for being with us. Since this is called the last word, all right, Steve, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Hey, Jerry, this is Steve. I just know that I wanted to ask a question, kind of circling back on some of the tariff conversation and, all of the disruption and uncertainty. Those are words that I keep hearing every day: uncertainty, chaos, disruption. Um, and again, it pertains to reps. So it's a good follow-up question to what you and Ray were just talking about. These are the men and women that don't get paid unless that transaction occurs. And so just knowing that there's all this disruption, my question to you is what other repercussions, other than just, what is my price going to be, are you expecting as a result of all these disruptions and with the tariff conversations, such as manufacturers trying to adjust their supply chain? So could there be a potential shortage of products, or fluctuating, container and freight rates as a result of, the hot and cold market? As far as, are people going to be rushing to get products into the States before tariffs come, or are they going to wait? And so freight rates could drop, but then fluctuate right back up. Or the bigger question is, are retailers going to be buying? Are they going to try to get ahead of it and make sure that they're well positioned with their inventory, or they're just going to wait? So, as someone who lives and dies by making the sale and having that transaction to get paid a commission, what do these reps need to be prepared for the not just this market, but for the rest of the year, the next 18 months? I mean, is it a sustainable business model for them? Because I know as I think about it, and I think about our members, it is, yeah, this is their family, this is their livelihood. So what do they need to be prepared for? Because one thing that we've seen, not to sound any alarms, but I think some of the more tenured reps are saying, okay, well, maybe now's a perfect time to hang it up. And what we also see on the adverse, or on the flip side of it, is the younger reps that are trying to break in. It's not sustainable for them. They can't make it 18 months to weather the storm. So, what advice would you give uh, in relation to what other side effects would we see as a result of the on again off again tariff conversation, um, and how can it impact the rep as far as the next month, 6 months, 18 months?
Steve, my son, who of course is extraordinarily handsome and well educated, uh, my son became a rep for Ashley for 5 years. And he got hired away by another company, but he he stuck with it for 5 years, made some lifestyle changes, moved back in with us because we had a lot of room did a lot of lifestyle changes, but he really made it try to go because he loved the people. He still does. He's coming with me to market here next week, and he still loves the people, but he just couldn't make the logistics work in terms of making money enough to be able to live the lifestyle he wanted his family to have. Now, having said that, there are more reasons right now to look at our industry in terms of our importance to our consumer, in terms of the product we're going to be making specifically for them, and the way that product works with the consumer in the future is going to make your lives better. It's going to make the reps role more important because the manufacturers are I think in some cases only now beginning to realize that the reps are the most important route of communications they've got with their retail base. And it's like, duh. Well, what do you think? There are companies out there that use the reps efficiently and well, and there are those out there that whip their reps like a mule. And I get very mad, but I've been around 50 some years now, and I can look back at each decade and tell you which companies were hot, which companies did really well, and which companies left us that we lost. And I'm going to tell you, Steve, in every case, every decade, it wasn't because of the manufacturer. It wasn't because of the smart management. It was their rep organizations. There are some companies that I can point out as recently as the 90s that did fairly well when they had lots of reasons to fail. But they survived and they did well because they had a sales force that really worked hard and really made it work. Uh, my first appointment at market is going to be with Ron Wanek. And Ron, as you know, is the founder of Ashley. Now, again, I hate to use any one company, but if you got to use a company as an example, use Ashley. Ashley, I saw a presentation Ashley made to some bankers back in, I believe it was 2015. And Ashley at that time was just about $10 billion. And I listened to this presentation, and Ashley guys got up there and said, look, we've got the retail distribution. We've already got our own stores. We've already got in a lot of the major independent stores, Aaron Rentz and these other guys. We're in these different places we want to be. So we can sell the product. We're in these internet companies. We're in these. And he said, but guess what? We've got $5 billion worth of sales that we can start tomorrow. Now, what were they? Well, you can look now and see. First thing they did, they got in mattresses. Mattresses have been an absolute profit center for almost everybody who's gotten in there. But you got to know what you're doing, of course. You got to be part of the mattress culture, of course. But they got in, they tonned it. And they did the same thing with outdoor furniture. They did the same thing with RTA. They did the exact same thing with decorative accessories. Anyway, there are a couple more, but anyway, all they had to do was basically let the reps loose on that category with their products that they had been dreaming up for years. And so they exploded again. And have they had their challenges? Damn right they have. But it's a strong family and a strong family unit that's very well financed. So they're going to do okay. But I'm telling you, if there was a way that I could stand up in front of the investment community right now, it'd be great if I could stand up. But anyway, if there was a way that I could stand up in front of the investment community and let them in on some of the things I know because I've seen the inventions, I know because I've talked to the people who are developing these things, we'd get a lot more interest in our stocks because it's our industry is positioned, believe it or not, through anything we did, but we're where we need to be for the population mix for the next 20 years. Uh, there was a time when, I was kind of looking forward to retiring. I'm not anymore. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to keep in the business. I'm just going to work a little smarter and try to be a little less strenuous on my own personal daily work. But I'm telling you, the potential is there, the excitement is there. And gosh, you look at some of these startups, and damn it, they've got to learn. Go out and try to find a couple of salespeople. A couple of really good reps can make all the difference in the world of getting new product out into the stores, getting new product on the retail floors. Um, I'm sorry, I've gotten off topic. On terms of the current issue du jour, these kind of things occur periodically, and they create these periods of time when we don't know. And it's not that we're stupid or ignorant. The people that are making the decisions don't know. The people that have to be worried about everything from the power of the military to raw materials don't know. But these will be resolved. Someone told me day before yesterday that if you're betting on countries in terms of winning a horse race to get good negotiated things out of Trump, look at Taiwan, look at Israel. And I never looked at it that way, but I guess there are countries that have a priority. And then there are other countries that we need to resolve issues with, and that would include the European community, could include a large part of Asia. When you look at the politics and you see behind the scenes a little bit, we think of China as being so powerful. They are, but they've mistreated their population in terms of their compensation, their lifestyles. They've mistreated a lot of uh, uh, their allies, and the allies resent it. And China has got certain problems, primarily with just the uh, uh, household side of it. How they can't they've built too many residences in the wrong places, and there's such a huge shortage in other places. It's it's disastrous. And you read all these articles. Can they get out of it? How are they going to get out of it? How are they going to finance it? All that is really scary when you read it. But the truth is, we've been here or close to it time and time and time again. And it wasn't that long ago, excuse me, when this guy named Trump put in punitive tariffs on China that were 25%, and they had an accelerator on top of that. And all of us were looking around the room saying, holy cow, how are we going to survive this? It sounds so simple now, but The guys that supplied the transportation, the logistics, they gave a little bit because they had to, or lose basically their businesses. The retailers gave. The whole different raw materials range, those people gave a little bit. And so we went through that period, and 8 months after those tariffs were first initiated, you almost had to go back and bring it up to people again because it had been resolved from a financial point of view. The price increases that were necessary got passed through with no resistance from the consumer. And it, I'm not, there were actually some good things to come out of it because the domestic manufacturers got some breaks in terms of pricing that they hadn't had in 20 years themselves. You just have to look at it and think to yourself, boy, I wouldn't have guessed that could have occurred, but it did. And we have right now such a strong demand for our products that I think we're going to do okay. I'm not real nervous because we've got the housing business recovering. We've got interest rates headed in the right direction. And if you look at community by community, if you read some of the stuff the realtors put out, some of the stuff the home builders put out, their shortages that they're facing are they just can't get enough land to build the homes on. They can't find places that have been that are in the correct locations to build where the consumers, the new homeowners want to be. But these are things we, again, address every day. I get really frustrated, and then I make myself remember when I've been like this before, and I try to get out of it. We're an industry with low self-esteem, and it drives me crazy. What was the best-selling sofa in the United States in 2000? $6.99.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best-selling fabric sofa today? $8.99, $9.99. What could you buy? You name the car in 2000, and it was probably $16,000 or $18,000, and today it's probably $35,000. We just don't have the inflation in our products that others have. Our upholstery has got a great record on upholstery, on inflation, and we have. I don't know if you ever thought about it, but we've got two different upholstery businesses. You've got mass-produced upholstery made in massive factories, and when they make an item, they make 1,000 of it, and they sell it to at a very, very affordable price. But then you've got a completely different upholstery business where the American consumer goes in and picks out the fabric and the skirting and the welting and the cushioning and makes it their own. And that sofa's made by itself, one at a time, bench made. And those products split the U.S. market almost equally in dollar terms. The mass-produced product and the custom product. They live side by side, and they serve our business very well and very profitably. It took a long time coming, but that combination in our businesses is the best it's ever been. Guys, I'm just going to tell you, don't get too frustrated. No one's out there playing a trick on you. And I know no one here believes it, but there's no one out there secretly planning to get back at Steve Allegrezzo or Ray Allegrezza. I know some who'd love to, but let's not talk about that.
That's Ray only.
They're out there. Okay. Nobody's keeping secrets. This is going to work out, but use your head. Watch the stores. Watch for who's growing. Look around High Point. Look at who's expanding showrooms and, growing showrooms and all that. You know, those are the guys that are going to be around for a while. I get real excited. And I'm so excited. I've had some health issues that's kept me from going to 5 markets in a row. And I'm going to be there. I'm driving down Friday, and I'm going to be there, and we're going to have a party at the Hall of Fame building on Saturday afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30. Come on over, eat a ham biscuit. I'm just inviting everybody I know, and every one of you. I may not know you by name, but every one of you I consider a friend. I love this industry. If you can get back, come by and say hello. Let me shake your hand, and I'd love to see you. And
We
yes,
will.
Ray, that does include you.
All right. We will do it. Jerry, thank you as always for your wisdom and for your ability to make us look at the big picture and convince me that the sky is not falling. We're going to be all right. So we will see you Saturday. And on behalf of the executive committee and Steve and all our 1,500 members, thank you for decades and decades of love and determination and focus on this industry and for making us better. So thank you very much.
I'll make you one more deal.
Okay.
If anybody in this audience gets to the point where they're distressed, Ray and Steve, if y'all can communicate with me, you got emails and phone numbers and everything. If y'all can communicate with me and say, this individual just needs somebody to talk to, let me know. Okay. I'll
We'll
call
do
you.
it.
I'll tell you what I know. And we can talk specifics. If you're working with XYZ company, if it happens to be one I know about, I'll as much as I can without violating a confidence, I'll tell you what I know. But I'm just telling you, this is such an easy time to get discouraged. And it's kind of like walking away from the football game right when you're about to win it. Just stay with us, folks.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. We're going to hang in there. We'll see you Saturday, and I will hold you to that ham biscuit for sure.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Thanks,
CC,
Jerry.
for being with us. All right. Bye bye.